the simpler the concept, the easier it is to scale as well, the less complexity. How do you make sure that you're not diluting that main offer, if that's even a concern? All the different procedures and the complexities that then you have to think about in all of your operations and marketing, etc. It just gets very overwhelming.
You start to have a lot of people with great ideas and the power of the network come to you, and they want to grow same-store sales. Would that make sense, or would this little thing make sense to add it to the store? And so we came up with a clear framework how we think about adding stuff to the business. As anybody who is basically running a personal training business can attest to, you have to really aggressively manage the labor expense. And if you manage the labor efficiency ratio in this business really aggressively, you will have a great business. The complexity of this business is so beautifully low. Okay, what are the things that we can really fix as early as possible in the value chain to really be sure that our service is staying at a consistent high quality as we scale?
Welcome to another episode brought to you by Imagine Strength, the future of safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training equipment. Are you a HIIT studio owner looking for equipment that's not just top-notch, but also tailored to your specific needs? Imagine Strength is your answer. Inspired by the legendary Arthur Jones, Imagine Strength is revolutionizing the HIIT industry with their state-of-the-art yet affordable equipment. Their team doesn't just sell HIIT equipment, they live and breathe it. I've personally experienced their gear at the Resistance Exercise Conference, and let me tell you, it was an intense workout that I won't soon forget, in the best way possible, of course. So why choose Imagine Strength? Number one, they provide customized solutions for HIIT studios. Number two, they have budget-friendly yet high-performance designs. And number three, they're committed to innovation and excellence in high-intensity training specifically. Founder Jeff Turner and his dedicated team are on a mission to make HIIT accessible to everyone. Getting started is easy. Number one, visit imaginestrength.com. Number two, consult with their expert team. And number three, choose the equipment that will skyrocket your business. Don't wait. Head over to imaginestrength.com and elevate your HIIT studio today with Imagine Strength. Lauren still here, and welcome back to High Intensity Business, your one-stop shop for elevating your HIIT business and fueling your passion for high-intensity training. This is episode 449, and I am joined by Julian Massler, who is the co-founder and CEO of Aurum Fit, a strength training company based in Zurich, Switzerland, that uses adaptive resistance and measurement to deliver incredible workouts. Aurum Fit's unique training concept of 6 minutes a week helps clients achieve scientifically proven health benefits. Julian, it's great to be with you. Thank you for making the time for this today, and apologies for the massive traffic jam that you've been stuck in recently.
Thanks for the flexibility on me being in the car.
Absolutely. Well, look, you're a very busy man. You've got a lot going on. You're building one of the most exciting companies in iSpace, I believe, and so it's just fortunate to have you. So as I was sort of saying to Julian before we got started, I just really wanted to use this opportunity to catch up with you and learn about how the business has evolved, and just to make sure that the internet, or at least my audience, are aware of your business and what's happening, because it's a really exciting story, and I think it's very cool what you're doing. So look, the last time we spoke was all the way back, episode 344. So listeners can certainly check that one out. We've done some other episodes as well. Which was December 15th, 2021. What's happened since?
So that was 2021. We had just started the franchising. I think we had 2 or 3 franchise locations open. And then in 2022, we really went on a growth spurt. I think we went from 11 stores to around 30 stores in 2022. And then also developed the model in a way where we don't have one of our machines and one coach in a store at any given time, but we have 2 machines and private rooms in our stores, so that the unit economics have become bigger. And we also went on a strategic shift in terms of positioning, where we say, look, high intensity strength training is really one pillar of your longevity strategy. So you should also have a strict understanding on what supplements do you want to take, and on a multitude of other treatments that we now offer in our stores. And so since then, we've grown to around 50 with around 30 in development in the backlog in locations, and have grown the AUV, so the average unit volume, by de facto more than twice. So it's kind of more like a we've grown 3x or 4x because of that is in the meantime.
Wow. Okay. So is that 50 and 30 pending? 50 open and 30 pending?
Yeah, it's 50 open and 30 are in development. Yeah, at the moment.
Wow. Okay.
And that's basically in December now. So it's crazy to have that backlog in December.
Yeah. Wow. And so you've expanded the offering, as you mentioned there. Can you elaborate on that, just so we get a better understanding of what are the services being offered by Aurum now?
Yeah, we stayed in close contact with the end customer, right? What are the needs that we fulfill for them? And so for one, we can really take care of strength training, muscle development, and body composition analysis. That was always part of what we were offering, but we were even like to the point of doing our customers a disservice by not offering them a private label supplement line, because they already trusted us. They wanted to know, what is it that I can take in order to enhance my strength training experience. And so we basically have launched in the meantime also a private label supplement line. And we are also piloting at the moment different treatments that are helping customers to have better cardiorespiratory health in the stores. Yeah, the pilots there are really going well. So we will definitely add another treatment in 2024 to the box economics.
What is that cardiovascular treatment exactly? What is that protocol?
So it's called for one, I think we will bring the Carol bike back into the stores as a feature for the subscriptions. Just had a call with Ulrich yesterday, the CEO of Aurum Fit AI. That the other treatment is basically it's called IHHT. It's nothing where you do a workout necessarily. It's a biofeedback device that modulates the oxygen in the air that you are breathing, and it brings you up to the mitochondrial capacity or health of somebody who is used to train at 7,000 meters altitude over time. So that device is really, really interesting, and I think that the method has won the Nobel Prize in medicine in 2019.
What's the actual health benefit, the long-term health benefit of that protocol?
So it stresses, like all things that do good for long-term health, it stresses the body, and in this case the mitochondria, to really have the weak mitochondria, the ones that are already on their way out to die, and then make room for the stronger ones and train them to be strong. And so there is like the list of health benefits of stronger mitochondria and better oxygen uptake are like too long to be discussed here, but it's really like a round kick of goodness for your health and longevity.
Cool. Okay. Something I wanted to ask you about is just get your thoughts on this kind of business philosophy around the idea of strategic niche, which I'm sure you're probably familiar with, or just having an immense amount of focus in your business. So obviously we've had people on the podcast talking about this concept, and it's just the idea is being great at one particular thing. And if you're great at that one thing and you're considered the best in the region or the world at that one thing, and that one thing drives you the most revenue, and you just happen to have the most expertise in that one thing, then it makes sense to scale a business and just scale that one thing. Obviously, the simpler the concept, the easier it is to scale as well, the less complexity. Yeah. You see this everywhere, right? You see it with McDonald's, you see it with Apple, etc. I did come up with two options.
Absolutely.
There. So I'm curious why you're creating. I understand why you're creating more services to almost improve the customer experience and supplement what I feel is the main. I feel like the main event is still the 6-minute workout. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you think about this? How do you make sure that you're not diluting that main offer, if that's even a concern? And because the danger, I think, sometimes of going in this direction, and maybe you're just better than everyone else and you're going to do it great, is that you become all things to a lot of
Yeah.
people, right? You become too complex and offering too many different types of services, and it becomes
Like
so hard to then
that you become the Kmart of the high intensity training business, right?
exactly. It's suddenly and also I can just imagine in terms of just scaling a franchise, like all the different procedures and the complexities that then you have to think about in all of your operations and marketing, etc. It just gets very overwhelming. So I'd love to hear how you think about that.
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. And I'm really glad you brought up McDonald's. And basically, when you look at the concept that McDonald's is scaling now, it's a very complex concept. You have a multitude of menu items, and they basically all are evolving around this notion of getting a burger with sides, right? And so the question that we have to ask ourselves in this business is, what are our burgers and what are our sides? And so the hidden economics of McDonald's are basically that they don't make much on the burgers. It's very labor intensive, multitude of steps to create the burger, and also the input factors, especially for example in countries like Switzerland, are really, really expensive. And so, for example, in Switzerland, they make around 20 cents maybe on a burger. But where they make a stupid margin on is basically the fries and the Coke, right? And everybody gets the fries and the Coke as a side to the burger. And so that's also part of their business model, where they really bring people in all the time with the novelty of the seasonal burgers and stuff like that. And when you start to see the pattern, you really see why they are doing this, because they really want to drive sales of all the adjacent items in their stores. And so we thought about that long and hard ourselves. And when you become a franchisor, you basically do a shift in business. You start to have a lot of people with great ideas and the power of the network come to you, and they want to grow same store sales. And so they become really pressing in terms of, hey, would that make sense? Or would this little thing make sense to add it to the store? And so we came up with a clear framework for franchisees, how we think about adding stuff to the business. And as anybody who is basically running a personal training business can attest to, you have to really aggressively manage the labor expense, and not that necessarily the amount of labor expense that you have, but the multiple of revenue that you can get per labor expense. This is called the labor efficiency ratio. If you manage the labor efficiency ratio in this business really aggressively, you will have a great business. And so we think about the box economics in a way where we say, okay, what can we bring into the stores that is not requiring additional labor expense, and then for that matter also not requiring additional leasing expense, advertising expense, and rental expense, right? And so then you have something that is really flowing through to the bottom line. And we found that basically in our private label supplements that franchisees can sell on a commission basis, and it's then drop shipped to the customer at home. This one was the no-brainer, because people were already asking for it, and it is not requiring additional labor, additional room leasing and advertising expense. And so when you then keep on working from the customer backwards, what they really want to have, and then match it with this framework, we came up with the clear need by customers that they wanted to have something with the special something in terms of cardiorespiratory health. And so we found out about this IHT training and then went through the same filter. What will it require? Will it require additional labor expense? No, it doesn't, because it's a treatment people lay on this thing for 45 minutes. You might need a coordinator in the beginning to look if the people are comfortable, if everything is set up right. But it's not that somebody has to give a service or stand beside the person like with the HIIT training, right? And so this requires additional leasing. Of course, it's a device that you have to lease, but it is an upsell, right? You don't necessarily have to advertise this especially because people come in droves for the Aurum training, and then you can really land and expand with the customer and drive down average revenue per customer. And something that we have found out, which is especially true for the fitness business, longevity business, people have different pockets of spending power that you can tap into. The subscription is one pocket that you actually tap into. It's the services pocket where you say, okay, our subscription is costing this amount of money, and then you really tap into that into the services bucket that this person has. But the supplements bucket, for example, is a completely different pocket of the consumer's spending power that you can tap into. So it's not feeling for them as something where we are having high prices. They just say, hey, it's amazing that I have this one-stop shop. I can also get this from Aurum, right? And it goes on like that. And then the complexity is still very, very low compared to McDonald's or quick service restaurants. The complexity of this business is so beautifully low. And the only thing that you have to focus on is really train the people really good and manage them really good in operations. And then you can handle this added amount of complexity very easily. And so what we have done over the course of the year to really have control over the service as we scale is that, okay, what are the things that we can really fix as early as possible in the value chain to really be sure that our service is staying at the consistent high quality as we scale and as we also scale with franchisees. And so we said we need to have the very good academy. We need to get somebody into the team who really knows how to build up an academy, how to do learning with grown-ups, right? And so we hired Tanya Schmidt from Boeing. She was really a P&L owner at Boeing. She was overseeing the whole pilot training courses and everything for the different models. And she's building up our academy now, that we can be sure that everybody who runs through the academy and the online learning is really educated to the top notch of our standards.
Perfect. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense. So I understand what you're saying there in terms of adding additional services that support your goals and meet your end users' needs, whilst also minimizing the complexity. I totally get that. I can see how you can add some of those things and it adds very little complexity. However, I'm curious. So again, another view that you hear is if you start doing obviously too many things, you're no longer considered the quote unquote expert at that particular thing. So for instance, do you ever get concerned that, when you first open just doing the strength training experience, that you would be seen as experts in that one particular service? And then when you start doing additional things, and I can see how maybe a supplement line is just a sort of supporting component. But some of these other services that you're no longer going to be considered an expert at that one thing, or saying that a better way, are you concerned that because people see you as an expert at this thing, it's like, well, what do you know about supplement, choosing the rest or producing the best quality supplements? What do you know about, providing a service that's going to give me the best cardiorespiratory adaptations? So how do you feel about that? Do you disagree with that as a philosophy or as a business view? I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
The thing, Neil, Lawrence, sorry, right?
That's fine. I get that all the time.
Is it Lawrence, right?
It is, yeah.
Lawrence. The thing is that, and that is basically where Aurum has always been having his strengths. Nobody ever really built up a brand in high intensity strength training. Nobody ever thought about how do we really bring this into a brand. And there's a really great quote by Seth Godin where he says, look, if Nike would bring out a hotel, we would all know intuitively what that hotel is all about and what we can expect as consumers. If Marriott brings out a shoe, you and I, we don't know anything what to expect from that shoe. right? And I think that is the basis of how you can tackle actually bringing more and more services and revenue lines into the box economics of a high intensity business. You have to build up brand first. You have to stand for a certain set of values or provoke a certain set of emotions and assumptions in a consumer before you can really start adding stuff to the box economics. And that's where we were really deliberate. In the minds of the consumers, Aurum stands for quality. For science to consumer, we bring complex or perceived as complex scientific formulas into a product that can be easily consumed by people. We stand for simplicity, for resourcefulness, time efficiency, for example, is resourcefulness with time, with the attention span of us. And we, of course, by now we are really shaping this also with our marketing. So we have a clear view on how the marketing should be played out. Even the tagline has changed from the strengths to enjoy life to live more, to actually encompass also another dimension of services. With the strengths to enjoy life, you cannot sell supplements. It's really, really niche into the strength. But with live more, as in live more longer and live more better, you can plug in a host of other really well thought through treatments or products that you can sell to the customers and ultimately solve a customer problem. That is really important. As long as you're solving a problem for the customer, you will never be perceived as a hoax or something like that. If you can credibly solve a customer problem and they can feel it that you're solving it, you are free to really add whatever you want to the services that you provide. And to wrap up the answer here, it's really that nobody ever thought about high intensity strength training a bit broader and say, hey, this is such a great philosophy. And it's this is this bug that gets inside everyone, and also all the listeners on this podcast, myself, yourself. We all had that moment of truth where we really put down, for example, Body by Science and said, wow, this makes so much sense. Why should I ever do something else in terms of strength training? And understanding now that this is only one pillar in a broader strategy of increasing health and lifespan for our customers is really the backdrop of how we build our brand now. And that's allowing us to credibly add more and more services and products to the line of business.
Wow. Yeah. I love the way you think. And I think you answered that really well, Julian. I really appreciate that. So let's move on to some other questions there. I think you just wrapped that up really well. So would you mind give us an insight in terms of like performance, like, across your locations, the kind of revenues, that type of thing? Maybe that might be interesting to prospective franchisees.
Yeah. So, we are really seeing now, put on some light, I have arrived.
Oh,
we are really seeing now, the box economics increase, right? So the way you say it in the lingo of franchising, you would have a store, and you always think about this store in terms of four-wall EBITDA, right? So you want to see what is the contribution in terms of EBITDA of a store with all the direct expenses that is then feeding into the overhead. Or if you're really small as a franchisee and you don't have a lot of overhead and you're still working in that store yourself, it becomes the EBITDA of your company, right? And so what we see now, mind you, they are all really, really new. They opened the latest cohort of franchisees has opened in 2021. So they are now in the second year, like deep in the second year, and the vast majority has actually started to open in the second half of 2022. So they are all entering the second year now. But we can see the box economics emerge that we also saw in their own locations. We are around, for the highest performers, we are at around 30% EBITDA after the fees, the franchise fees. And for the vast majority, the four-wall EBITDA is around 15 to 20% EBITDA. But mind you, they are all starting to enter the second year now. So it's really the second year is where you start to see the profitability emerge. As we all know, you have to really build up the client base, have the renewals. In terms of churn, we are in the post-COVID area, we are really at an average of around 30%. So 30% of customers don't renew into the second year. For a multitude of reasons, we have a bit of problems come up with a great churn number because we grow so fast and people change inside the network. So mind you, this number might overstate our actual churn.
What does that mean? Sorry, I don't quite understand. The people change inside the network. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, we cannot trace customers that churn our stores and go into another store that's opening nearby.
Ah, right.
Yeah. So it's really hard to do that because
that must drive you mad.
of technical reasons. But what is really interesting, what we see is the customers that are actually entering into a second year contract, they are quite sticky. So there the churn goes down. Only like 20% don't renew into a third year. And so we see a 4-year customer lifetime, which is really, really healthy in this business. The industry average for the boutique industry, as per a report that we recently bought, is actually between 25 and 30% yearly churn. And for the big box gyms, like Anytime, it's even 50% is the average of churn. So this is really a healthy business where you can really build on a recurring basis. And the average unit volume, it depends on the jurisdiction that you're in. I mean, Switzerland is and will always be the highest unit economics country that we'll ever be in. But it's around 500 to 600,000 euros in Germany and around 700 to 1 million in AUV in Switzerland.
And your recurring revenue is that?
Yeah, the revenues. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So is that across locations, or is that the top performing locations?
No, that's the average. That's the average that is doable if you build up to a client base of around 300 to 400 customers.
Yeah. Sorry, the average would be what? Could you just restate that? Was 700? Did you say?
Yeah, it's really too hard to come up with the averages.
Sure.
It's because they're all in ramp, so it's between somewhere
Right.
between 700 to 1 million in Switzerland and 400,000 to 600,000 in Germany.
Per location.
And it always depends on per location. Yeah, it always depends on do they have already a second machine in there? Do they offer? How good are they at selling supplements and stuff like that? Right.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for being so open with this. This is so refreshing.
I mean, this is typical stuff that would come into the FDD, right? When we come to the US, this stuff has to be that's why you FDD. So we are preparing to be super transparent. I mean, yeah. And you will never get a franchisor answer with one particular question because of the you don't want to be sued on a number. You will always franchisors will always give you ranges to be on the legally right side.
Yeah. Okay. No, I get that, and obviously I speak to a number of franchises now in the US who can only share so much, and I completely respect that. But it's very useful to hear some of these metrics. Yeah, I mean the churn sounds really impressive. The EBITDA sounds good. It's fascinating to hear this, and just the revenue per location is really quite exciting. Yeah.
I mean it is a testimony to the standardization and to this land and expand strategy, right? Where can I be the solution for the customer, and also I think the churn. Obviously, when you talk to software as a service folks, they are like, what the fuck? Right? Because they are used, especially mission critical software, is like the churn is virtually 1%. Mm-hmm. I think nobody has ever ripped out their mind body instance, like 5 to 10%. But for the fitness industry as a whole, we think we are in a good place at the moment, but still we are hungry, right? We want to find ways to really drive that down because we say, hey, it's our duty for franchisees. How can we bring it down to 25%, right? or 20% for that matter, because you have the customer acquisition costs. They sit at around, I'd say between 50 and 150, depending on the market. So you want to really get as much lifetime value out of the customer as possible.
Well, sorry, what's that? 50 to 150? I don't understand. What
is that is the customer acquisition cost, just marketing, right? To bring one customer into the door.
What is that? Dollars? What currency are we?
That is Swiss francs, euro,
Swiss francs.
would be dollars as well. It's interesting. It's mainly driven by the digital ads and stuff like that. But then you also have these hidden customer acquisition costs. You go through a lengthy process of onboarding customers, like the trial training, getting them to teach them the philosophy of high intensity strength training and stuff like that, right? So you really want to monitor the attrition very, very closely and get as much lifetime value out of the customers as possible.
Today's episode is sponsored by Imagine Strength, the game changer in safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training machines. When it comes to HIIT, Imagine Strength is your go-to for intelligently designed, efficient, and affordable equipment. Their team is passionate about HIIT, and it shows in every piece they craft. So why are Imagine Strength the right choice? Number one, they tailor-make their equipment for HIIT studios. Number two, they provide cost-effective solutions for your business. And number three, they are committed to ongoing innovation and refinement. Ready to take your HIIT business to the next level? Visit imaginestrength.com to discuss your needs and find the perfect gear for your studio. Join the HIIT revolution of Imagine Strength and transform your workout experience today. Let's go. Great point. I'm avoiding the temptation to ask you tactical stuff because I love talking to you about retention and customer acquisition because we have done a fair bit about that in the past. I do want to make this more about a profile on Aurum. Tell us what is. So I will just say to those listening, if you want to learn more about specifics, tactics, marketing channels, etc., just go to highintensitybusiness.com and just go to the podcast list and Control F Julian, and you'll see them come up. When people come to Aurum today, what is the Aurum experience exactly? Because I've got obviously you've got the strength training experience, the tracking, the gamification. You've got this ecosystem you're building though. So, and I'm seeing 6-minute workout, but I'm also seeing testimonials on a website about 30-minute experience. So what happens when I walk into Aurum for my experience?
Yeah, that's a good one. The 6-minute is really like it's almost a marketing tagline because you have 6 minutes of time under tension, of really work time on the different muscles, right? We have the leg press, the row, the chest press, the torso extension, the pull down and the overhead press. So six minutes, 1 minute per exercise under perfect load. I urge everybody to try it. It's just mind blowing every time how hard 1 minute can be. And so in between you have a break, right? And you talk to the coach and drink something. So the whole workout takes around 15 minutes. And then with entering and changing and then maybe showering after the workout, it's around 20 to 30 minutes that you spend in the store, right? It's very time efficient. And so now the customer journey at the moment, how it's playing out is you come into contact with us. You might receive an email newsletter. You might go through a lot of either video content or blog posts or something like that, and you decide to book a trial. So when you book a trial, it's around an hour process. You come in, we do the anamnesis. We want to understand what's your need, what's your pain points, aspirations, and also the health check if you are really allowed to do this high intensity training. Which you obviously sign the liability waiver, and then you really spend time on the machine. We set customers up. We have to onboard every customer on the machine, right? So we have to get the settings right. This takes a bit, and it's worth taking a bit of time with the customers to onboard them on the machine. And then they do a full workout actually in the first trial. And
is this a 1 hour experience?
It's a 1 hour experience, yeah. And so after this experience, we consult people on, in the backdrop of their goals, what subscription makes sense to them. Because, when somebody comes and he just wants to build up some strength and he's basically a very very committed road cyclists or stuff like that, we don't sell these people a 12-month subscription, right? Because in the summer, it makes no sense for them to have really empty legs when they want to go on a big tour, right? So we consult people on which subscription makes sense for them, and then we have the the sales process in the first trial, right? We convert them directly into memberships, and after around 3 or 4 trainings, depends, what makes most sense operationally. We do the in-body scan with them. We have the in-body 970 in our stores. It's a very cool device. It's really, it's worth spending a few thousand more on the in-body 970. It's a very high quality device, where we go and see what is the body composition and everything, and also it has some markers that show the cell health. I really like that feature. They really figured out how to show to people the inflammation and everything, non-invasive. That is really cool. And on the backdrop of that, obviously we consult people on our supplements and what would make sense to really drive those numbers, and what would make sense to really bring out the most of their experience also with the training. So we would also then try the 4th training to convert them onto our supplement line. And these are basically 6 or 12 months subscriptions, and like a treatment time plan, like a Kur in German. Then it's about really doing the training, trying to have fun with the person, really keeping them engaged. I think that's one of the main value propositions that we have, is you have this accountability buddy with your coach who you can, on a weekly basis, you can ask him stuff, and he will also follow up if you don't come 2 weeks in a row, right? We have a CRM system that is really showing the coaches who they should call up and ask how's life, what's going on, and stuff like that. So we really bring people back if they start to have some slack, we tend to do a body analysis, but not all customers want to do that necessarily. We tend to do it all 3 months. And for most once a year or twice a year makes a lot of sense. You don't see necessarily so much new things when you do it too often. And over the course of the relationship, we also consult them on how it would make sense to do something for cardiorespiratory health, some sort of either use the Carol bike or invest in some IHHT sessions. The beauty of strength training is it's by the nature of it's a recurring thing, right? It's if you don't do it on a weekly basis, you start to atrophy again. The bedrock of the whole service model is still the regular training on our machine with the coach, or the high intensity training, right? So that's basically the customer journey at the moment. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was really interesting. Can you tell us more about the machine? Obviously, we'll put links in the show notes so people can actually see in action, because you've got plenty of videos out there. But can you just describe the range of exercises that you perform, the decisions that went into the machine and its proprietary design?
So the way we think about high intensity training, and we are as much enthusiasts and evangelists of high intensity training than everybody else who's listening to the podcast, right? It's kind of this blue pill moment where you're like, hey, when you've taken it, like in the Matrix, you see, oh, whoa, this is really what should be done. This is what should be the common sense approach to strength training, right? And so we have that bug inside of us. And the thing that we said in the early innings of Aurum was, hey, what does it take to really bring high intensity strength training to the masses, right? And so the first thing that we identified was the coach. I mean, it's super hard to have a model where you say, this is our gym and our philosophy is high intensity strength training, and then expect people to do high intensity strength training on the floor, right? Kieser training did that, and it's just not the way people train, and it's doing a disservice to people that really want to do high intensity training but are not really guided to do it. And so we said we need to have a coach. We need to have in the essence of it needs to be a personal training model. It needs to be a model where somebody is standing at the side and really coaching people through the workout, motivating, but also looking after perfect form for safety and everything to really bring the benefits of high intensity strength training to the people. And the second thing and the question was, what tool is this trainer using to apply high intensity strength training to customers? And weights are not necessarily the best tool for the job because, I mean, weights are essentially when you want to go to a point of positive muscle failures, weights can become dangerous. And weights allow for, especially free weights, allow for fast movements, for kinetic energy at the turning points, which always becomes the problem and leads to injury risk. And weights are not quantified by the nature of it. And so we really identified a few factors and requirements that we have for the tool to really the best tool for high intensity training. And so in the beginning, we imported the ARX device, which is an amazing device. And I think the guys at ARX have done a great job of building their devices. We imported them to Switzerland and had a lot of fun with it. But thinking through it already from the perspective of a franchisor and also an own store operation, if you have a lot of flexibility in the tool, you introduce a lot of room for error, human error especially, that can occur if you start scaling with people and not everything is in your head anymore, and you have to have standard processes to be followed. And so there's a really great book on building a business. It's called The E-Myth Revisited by Michael J. Gerber, and it talks about this concept of 3 systems. You have hard systems, soft systems, and information systems, which basically make up every business. And you want to have as many hard systems as possible because soft systems are processes that people have to do right, to get right, to really be done right. And the hard systems are, by the nature of it, they are either software or hardware that doesn't allow for a process to be run differently than you would want it to run as a business owner. And so this is really the insight that we have. We needed a tool that is completely streamlined to our processes, that makes it possible also for our franchisees to train their coaches on the processes and be sure that they can replicate the processes with as minimal error as possible. And the other thing was, I mean, we have grown now to around 100 machines in the network as of today, and we need a service organization, right? So we need to be able to service these machines. And ARX, it's a company from the US. They don't have a global service organization, right? So we ran into we saw some problems on the radar if we would have scaled out with ARX, and so we decided to build our own device that is tailored to our needs, to our requirements and processes. That is really a device that we sell into the system and also act as a original equipment manufacturer with all the good stuff, which is revenue, but also all the bad stuff, which is owning level 1 support, level 2 support, level 3 support, supply chain management and everything to be able to really service our franchisees.
Okay, so you're owning that whole arm, the whole support system for that becoming an OEM, as you said there. Why not outsource that?
I mean, we are basically we are Technogym or Matrix combined with Planet Fitness, right? It's Aurum by today is more like a Aurum group. It's 2 companies. Yeah. It's the franchisor, we call it the trading company, the franchisor and own store operations, and the Aurum One, which is the manufacturer and servicer of our own equipment and software. And I think you can outsource certain parts of that value chain. For example, we have contract manufacturing. We don't have necessarily our own manufacturing plants and all the stuff that comes with that. But we do have a support organization that is taking care of the machines that are in the field, and service these machines when something happens.
Got it. Okay. And what are the exercises that one can perform on the machine now as it stands?
So it's optimized for the leg press, the row, chest press, a lumbar extension. We call it the torso extension, a pull down, and an overhead press. It's all on one machine. Yeah, and it's all it's not with cables. It's all guided. It's really optimized for safety. With cables, you introduce another variable that could lead to potential problems during the training.
Sure. And just I saw a couple of videos, and I will link to your Instagram. Is great. There's some really, I'm sure you put this all over social and other places, but some of your just your branded content, the production value is really great, and it's fun to watch. And in some of those videos, I saw some people using the machine, and they're doing, I think, the lumbar exercise, which almost looks like an isometric. How is that? Can you just describe how that's performed? Because it's not like it's not like a MedX lumbar extension where you've got a back pad that you're kind of reversing into. It's performed very differently.
Yeah, I mean, what we said during the R&D process here was that actually the deadlift is a very, very good exercise. It's the problem with the deadlift is sometimes that the whole range of motion can be very, very hard to perform at a very high quality for people that are not well trained in strength training. And so we said, okay, but where in this movement is the most interesting part of the movement? And that is basically where you are at 45-degree angle to around 55, 60-degree angle, something like that. So it's a very small movement, right? It looks almost like an isometric movement where you keep the perfect posture from head to toe, and you do like this much of range of motion. But it already suffices to introduce these powerful benefits of the deadlift, where you can really get people's posture right, get rid of back pain. A lot of accounts where people really got rid of their back pain from this exercise, and you just minimize the injury risk if you keep the range of motion at that range for the vast majority of people.
And are you really recruiting the lower back and the multifidi and all that musculature with that type of exercise? Yeah.
It is. It's a whole body. I mean, you really have to come to us. It's when you really go all out on this exercise. At the last rep, the coach will say, "Hey, keep it easy. You're not having right form in the lower back anymore, because you really it's completely toast after this exercise." Yeah.
Awesome. So look, Julian, we're at time, and I'm so grateful for you making the time today. This has been I want to say it's the best one of all of them, but the others were great as well. It's been so long since I listened to them, but I just really enjoyed listening to you today. Just before we do wrap up, is the BHAG still, so the big hairy audacious goal, still 1,000 locations by 2030? Is that moved at all, or is that still the goal for you?
I mean, it has grown a bit. We what we will achieve by the end of next year is for sure 100 locations. And as locations have become bigger in size, the average unit volume has become bigger. Actually, the BHAG would now be already achieved at 500, right? So, what we are aiming at the moment, the 3-year highly achievable goal that we want to execute on is, the highlights are, we want to really have our pilot phase finished in the US. So we want to open a company-owned store, really get the model right, and start selling territories into franchising in the US. and really have that business have great trajectory by the end of 2026. We want to achieve 150 million in system-wide sales. So this is basically a measure that franchisors always use to not discriminate between company-owned and franchise locations, to just see what is the revenue with the system at the end customer level. So this is 150 million in revenue between system-wide sales and GMV, when GMV is obviously the supplements part of the business.
Right.
I think the trajectory of the company has grown a bit because of this, in essence, because of the rebranding to be Aurum Live More, right? We want to be the one-stop shop for our customers in terms of all things health span and lifespan. And so the BHAG is really more than 1,000 actually, machines in operation. That at the time that we talked with each other, it was bound one machine was one location, and now we see that our business has grown beyond the machine in a way. So it's actually, the BHAG is now 5 million members for some service or product of the Aurum universe, and that would be not in 2030, but by 2034.
Okay, yeah, because it's 5,000 currently, isn't it, roughly, according to the website?
It's around 5,000, yeah. And that's basically, we only track members of Aurum training, right, of the service.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to bring this together. We want to have the journey in the store with the training, with the IHHT, with the supplements, but also tie this into the app. We have on our 3-year roadmap, we have certain features that we want to be so valuable in the app that people, pay for these features via the App Store. And so the BHAG has expanded in a way beyond Aurum training, where we can have people that are, doing Aurum training, everything together, subscriber on the app, taking the supplements like the die-hard fans. But then we can also have people, and we will have people in the future that maybe churn from Aurum training for whatever reason, but still say, hey, the supplements were really great. I will keep buying the supplements. Or I love the app. I love some features of the app. I will keep being a subscriber to the app. And so this has really reshaped our BHAG, where we say we want to have 5 million users of one of our services by the end of 2034.
Awesome. And do you use EOS as a framework to manage the business? Are you into EOS or?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we use
you
EOS.
do? Oh, really? Yeah. So you're like fully, do you have like a implementer and all of that as well, or?
No. I mean, we self-implemented the EOS framework. Yeah, we have the whole shebang: traction scorecard, 3-year picture, 1-year picture, 10-year vision. We have the whole thing. We take the best out of EOS, which I think is tactically really, really great. And for the strategic parts, we take a lot from Scaling Up.
And that's Vern Harnish's book, is it? Scaling Up?
Yeah.
Is that a system as well? Is it in the book?
Yeah, I mean, EOS and Scaling Up, I think they are like brother and sister in a way.
I see. Yeah, and I'm assuming we're obviously talking about bigger businesses here. I don't know if Scaling Up is going to be that relevant to single studio owners listening to this, would you say?
Absolutely. Or? EOS is also what we propose to all of our franchisees. Yeah. It's a beautiful framework, and I think it's taking a lot of anxiety out of the life of every entrepreneur, especially the function accountability chart and the traction scorecard. Mm-hmm. If you really become committed to the traction scorecard and you find out the leading indicators that drive your P&L, and you start tracking them over the 13 weeks period, it's creating so much amazing discussion in the leadership team. It's wonderful. It's really wonderful.
Mm. I have another question for you, but I will save it for another time because we're we're at time here, Julian.
Yeah, I mean,
But
the thing is, for this podcast, I could be the technicals we have developed quite a bit. So the trade secrets of Aurum have grown and grown and grown over time. So I think the earlier episodes I will be much more open about certain stuff, right? And
I
now
feel you've been
it's
very
actually,
open.
yeah, but now it's like the really meaty stuff, which is just amazing, and how to drive a local business and high intensity business is really bound to the franchise product, right? It's now by now it's kind of behind the paywall in many ways. The concrete paint by numbers, how to do it, right? Is really bound to the franchise product with us. Yeah.
Well, I think you're right that if people just go to the earlier episodes, they can learn something about that. But we've done, this is 449. We've done so many episodes on growing this business that I feel like the most of the tactics are out there. It's just the problem isn't content and knowledge, Julian. As you know, it's taking action. It's getting people to
the
actually do it.
implementation. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's what we say. The paint by numbers, like the really step by step guides on how to implement it. This is really what's driving the real value, because
Right.
the concepts are out there, and how do you really channel them towards your specific business is where the real value lies, and why franchising is, I think, one of the most exciting growth industries overall going forward. There's more and more franchises. The industry is growing because it is a great system. It's been since I think Dairy Queen was founded in 1934. It's just getting the best out of both worlds, like these amazing local operators, local heroes that are completely aligned with you as the franchisor, and you as the franchisor can focus on bringing more high ticket, high margin items into the stores, continuously innovating and digitizing processes to make them easier to be implemented and with less replication error. And so this back and forth between franchisor and franchisees, what's really driving this great value in franchising.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I think that's not to digress too much, and obviously we want to wrap, but I think one of the reasons why Alex Hormozzi's work, $100 million offers, $100 million leads. I don't know if you're familiar with these books, Julian, or his brand, but I think the reason why he's becoming so popular, one of them, is because he is giving a paint by numbers approach. He is giving you the very clear, just do this one thing, do it 100 times for 100 days, then move on to the next thing. And I think that's something that the business world really needed, especially the startup entrepreneurial space really needed that guidance. And I've been adapting. Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, and actually Traction is also part of that, right? Traction also gives you these how to do is, and it's funny that you bring up Alex Hormozzi. I mean, what we do with the supplement side or for the franchisees, right?
I was going to ask you about this.
It is the same system like Prestige Labs is using, right? It's just that Prestige Labs is going to independent personal training gyms and doing this model, and we just do it with our franchisee network, right? It's basically this was proposed by one of the franchisees. It made a ton of sense, and we said, yeah, we should do that as well and do it under our brand.
Did you read
with the same business model?
Did you read Gym Launch Secrets and learn about you did?
Yeah, of course.
Julian, I love it.
It's no shame about it. I mean, it's a beautiful business model that they came up with. Everybody wins: the customer, the franchisee, and we win. And we said we have to do this. This is amazing. And obviously, as a franchisor, you don't hang in there some third-party brand, right? You want to have it under your brand, because that's also really leveraging the marketing spend and makes it easier for people in the store to sell this stuff, because you don't have a switch in the head of people like, okay, what is this brand about and that brand? But the business model that they outlined is exactly the same what we have brought into our franchise system.
I love it. Yeah, and so just to summarize there for the listeners, use Traction, use EOS to give you a system to grow your business. And then your when you come to do your rocks, which will be like your objectives, like how many clients you want to grow by, etc., use Alex's $100 million leads to figure out exactly what tactics you want to do. Now, I will use this as an opportunity to plug because I just can't help myself. But if you want to have those tactics adapted to our niche, so the HIT business, obviously inside HIT business membership, we have tons of content in there, which is paint by numbers, which is, do this tactic to achieve this outcome to help grow your business. And you can learn all about that if you just go to highintensitybusiness.com, and there's call to actions all over the place. Julian, thank you so much again for doing this. Really enjoyed talking to you. So just before you head off, what's the best way for people to learn more about Aurum and learn about the franchise opportunity as well?
So for the DACH area, you can really for both. So for the DACH area and for the US, just go on www.aurumfit.com and then click on franchising. It's in the top of the website, and then really try to go on to the newsletter or apply for this nurture flow that is lying behind it. And so what we do now at the moment, we really want to get into contact with interested parties from the US. So we really want to build a newsletter list on potential franchisees in the US. And when you are from the DACH area and you're really interested in learning more, you can go into the classical franchise approval process right away tonight when you have heard that. And we can execute stores in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much. Julian, any parting thoughts before we wrap up, or anything else you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing for everybody who's interested in enthusiastic about this business is really think about it in terms of one pillar of a greater strategy for our clients, right? Because what we have found out early on is it's not about, for the most people, for the clients that we have as high intensity business owners, it's not about primarily doing like the beach body approach, getting into the shape or to go on stage and stuff like that. Although you can undoubtedly really do this also with high intensity training, but for most clients in high intensity training, it is a psychological thing that they want to do something for their health span and lifespan and prevent all kinds of diseases that come with weak muscles and that come with atrophy over time. And so you're really selling a kind of psychological product as well as a physical product, if that makes sense, because you sell relief every week that people can say, on the couch, I have done something, and I have done something that's scientifically proven to work, and I can feel it, and I didn't spend my life in the gym to actually enjoy my life more, right? And so think about it as one pillar of a greater health span and lifespan strategy, and then try to expand out from that. What else can you do for customers that gives them this feeling of, okay, I've done everything for my health span and lifespan without, spending my life in the gym or becoming an absolute pro in terms of nutrition and stuff like that, because these are not our customers. Our customers want efficiency, they want simplicity, they want a solution that is not, cutting too deep into their regular lives.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Final words there. And for everyone listening, to get the show notes for this episode, please go to highintensitybusiness.com, search for episode 449. And until next time, thank you very much for listening. This episode is brought to you by Imagine Strength, your go-to for safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training equipment. Growing a successful high-intensity training business requires workout equipment that's not only high quality, but also intelligently designed to fit the unique needs of your studio. And that's where Imagine Strength comes in. Drawing on the wisdom of the legendary Arthur Jones, Imagine Strength has crafted a groundbreaking line of fitness equipment that's as affordable as it is efficient, giving your studio the upgrade it needs without breaking the bank. The team at Imagine Strength breathes HIT. Their passion for high-intensity training shines through in their designs, which they've consistently refined and innovated for optimum effectiveness and user experience. From my personal experience at Rec, I can attest to the careful consideration and craftsmanship that goes into every single piece. My Imagine Strength workout was absolutely brutal, in a good way, of course. Now, what makes Imagine Strength truly stand out? They have innovative equipment tailored for the unique needs of HIT studios. Affordable and efficient designs, lowering the barriers to entry for a hit business. Continuous innovation and refinement, ensuring your studio stays ahead of the curve. Founder Jeff Turner and his team are dedicated to moving the hit industry forward and making strength training accessible to more people than ever before. Here's how you get started. Number 1, visit imaginestrength.com. Number 2, discuss your specific needs with the team. And number 3, select the equipment that will propel your business to the next level. Head to imaginestrength.com today and give your hit business the Imagine Strength edge. Be part of the hit revolution and see firsthand how their unique equipment can transform your studio's workout experience. Elevate your hit business with Imagine Strength.
Let's go.